animal companions. I'm not really married to any of them. I mean, you would call them pets, but the appropriate term is animal companion. And two are fine, the cat and the bigger dog. The smaller dog is a really, she loves to just like scratch my leg. And it's bothering me, one of her scratches. I think it's momentary, I'm sure. It might not be. But it doesn't mean I'm looking to like abolish her, or I'm looking to do something. Well, I'm kind, I'm empathetic, but it hurts. So here's the thing. What do you do? Is it because I'm a bad animal companion to my animal companion? It got me thinking, because on the PETA podcast today, it dropped. You can get it wherever you podcast. I talked to Troy Vitesse, who is a writer based he's in Europe now, but he wrote this piece in The Guardian about abolishing pet ownership. And I just want to put it out there. Maybe we shouldn't have pets. Maybe we shouldn't have companion animals. I talked to you, should listen to the podcast, but I mean, one of the things that's interesting is, because I talked to him, and he's serious about it, or at least he's interested in having a serious conversation about what is it that happens when we own pets or animal companions. He doesn't like the term animal companions, but he really cuts to the chase and says, aren't we really exerting our domination over animals that, I mean, isn't a nice thing? I mean, you look at your dog's life and say, look, my dog lives in a in an expensive home. She's not on the streets. In fact, we saved her. She's arrested. All our animals are rescue animals. We give them a good life. They get fed, vegan food. Not, as Vitesse points out, not all people who have animals as companions feed their pets vegan food. But he points out that pet ownership, sort of like he comes from a socialist perspective and says, look, we feed the pet industry is like a $260 billion industry worldwide. It's a global pet market. It's worth more than solar and wind energy sectors combined in the world economy. I mean, you think about that and you say, well, this is a serious thing. Maybe we have pets not because we love them, not because we as humans need in quotes, but maybe it's because of the whole market idea that, oh yeah, we must have them, because $260 billion global pet market, that's what it's worth. So he's an environmental historian and also an animal studies guy, and so he's writing this in The Guardian, points this out. But then he also points out that maybe pet ownership is bad for pets. You talk about how they come out of puppy mills. Now, mind you, some areas have banned puppy mills. That would be a step in the right direction. But, all these things he points out show that maybe it isn't that bad an idea to abolish pet ownership. But maybe the most convincing thing is that when they're under our domination, when animals are, they're beholden to us, right? Even our quote unquote companion animals. Vitesse says pets suffer under the yoke of our affection, and they in turn harm wild and farmed animals. That's what he says. That's one of his claims. He says if U.S. pets were a country, they would rank 5th globally in terms of meat consumption, greater than Germany. Carnage at this scale is unnecessary because dogs can be vegan, and only 1.6% are. So he makes a case here that if we got rid of pet ownership, now you say, I need my pet offers comfort. Well, look, there are probably better things that you can get comfort from without going down the path of the bad things that pet ownership does. But if you listen to the conversation I have with him on the PETA podcast, he does talk about how the ideal way of having or bringing animals into our lives, the ideal circumstance, is maybe birding. I mean, that's not touchy-feely enough for you? You know, going out into nature with your binoculars, observing a free being existing in its environment, observing, appreciating, even loving our feathered friends. I mean, birders, I mean, I'm kind of an amateur birder myself. Well, you know, I put up a bird feeder in my yard and all the birds come and attack the plum tree, but all these different birds, and sometimes I can just spend hours just watching the different birds come in. I mean, to Vitesse, experiencing animals in nature, that's what we should be going for. We shouldn't be going for a human-dominated kind of thing, or the kind of thing that pet ownership sort of becomes, a matter of pets, animals being dominated by humans. So anyway, check it out. Vitesse wrote this Guardian piece earlier in the year. Let's see, what was the date? He wrote it in February. Very provocative, and I think you may say, look, that's ridiculous to ban pets. Why do you even bring it up, Emil? Well, we bring it up because to not talk about it, to just flat out ignore it, that wouldn't be right. But I think there are some good points that Troy Vitesse makes. Anyway, check it out on the PETA podcast. Hey, and welcome to this podcast. This is Emil Amok's Takeout, my takes on all things considerable. How are you? We talked about Donald Trump being the not guilty, he's liable. Remember, it's a civil case. So people, if you catch people saying, oh, well, he's guilty, no, he's not guilty. He is liable for being a sexual abuser. And yet there's a lot of people who want to skirt around exactly what this means and what kind of impact it will have on not just Donald Trump's life, but on our lives. So I want to talk about that a little bit. Specifically, a Wall Street Journal editorial, when the lead editorial of the Journal, you got to read that, because you say to yourself, oh, this is what conservatives are thinking. And what conservatives are thinking is, darn it, we don't know what to do. I mean, the Republicans don't know what to do. They don't know what moral sword to fall on. You know, they want to win. They think they can only win with Trump, but Trump has shown that he's a loser. He controls 30% of a Republican Party, and of course, you need 51% of everyone. What I think might happen is there's got to be someone who might look like a loser to the super right wing folks, but somewhere there's got to be a moderate who says, look, I'm just as pro-Christian as a lot of you ultra-right wingers. I'm just as conservative as those ultra-right wingers, but I'm moderate in my views to attract independents and to attract people who are maybe on the moderate Democrat scale. I don't want to say the left, but they're certainly to the left of Donald Trump. And that's the kind of space that Republicans are trying to figure out. Well, what is this space? Is this a space that's real? I think it is, especially in 2024 when there are a lot of Democrats and maybe not so left, but more moderate Democrats who are saying, I don't know about Biden. There's got to be someone there in the Republican Party who says, we don't have to be beholden to Trump. We can carve out this space in the middle and get a majority that is a real majority. But, the Republicans are too stupid. They don't know what to do. Even the elites who want Trump out. And now that they've got this great victory, E.Jean Carroll's defamation and her battery claim against Donald Trump, she won it. She won $5 million, but it's not the money. Because if you saw E.Jean Carroll on her victory tour, and look, I like E.Jean Carroll. I liked her before when she was a journalist. I followed her throughout. She's a character in American media. And I mean that positively. I just, she was asked a political question like, oh, what's this going to mean to Donald Trump? Really, it's not her. I mean, I'm sure she has an opinion, but she didn't state it, or she deflected the question. But her talking point today is we have gotten rid of the perfect victim, the idea of the perfect victim. Because people have it in their minds that, oh, if you are a victim of rape, you yell and scream, and that's what you do. You bring attention to. But we all know that because that's what Trump said, right? Well, she didn't yell, she didn't scream. That's what her attorney said. Fact is, a lot of women do not come forward, and they don't come forward because they won't be taken seriously. They won't be seen as truthful, and they would rather not face the abuse by the legal system. And what the E.Jean Carroll suit, her victory, what it shows is, yes, the system will take these matters seriously. It's a civil case, not a criminal case, which means that standard was lower in the civil case, and the award isn't criminality against Trump, but it's a financial award to the plaintiff to punish Trump. In this case, a jury found that Trump was not guilty, but liable. It's like not guilt or innocence, not criminal. It's a civil matter. So the jury found Trump liable, $5 million worth, and not for rape and not for unwanted touching, but for that middle ground, sexual abuse. And so you'll see that term that phrase bandied about, because that, to be totally accurate, that's what he lost. That not guilty, but found liable for sexual abuse. So now the question is, what's going to happen? What's going to happen with the Republicans, to him and Trump, who's going to be on CNN tonight? And the Wall Street Journal has already said, hey, yeah, they need each other. Wall Street Journal said Trump and CNN need each other. CNN has this image that it is all liberal. And so, but it doesn't win the liberals from MSNBC. And it doesn't win any of the Fox viewers who are trying to figure out where to go after Fox, after Tucker Carlson, who said today he's going to Twitter. Hey, I'm on Twitter. Maybe you're on Twitter too watching this. At Emil Amok. But Tucker Carlson's going to go on Twitter for now, because apparently he's under contract. So there's Trump tonight on CNN. They need each other, and maybe Trump will lure people to the CNN fold. They've got him being interviewed by Caitlin Collins, who I don't really know her politics. She's from the South. I think she came up through some right-wing media sources. But she's proven to be a very good, I think, very good, thoughtful reporter during the pandemic. And now something in me in the past suggests to me that, oh, she's real conservative. She's going to be interviewing Trump. Why Trump is on CNN, I don't know, but you can bet they're going to ask him about sexual abuse or the town hall, because that's the big question. Why would anyone in the right mind want a president who has this kind of it's a black mark. It's a mark against you. Well, you can't say, well, I won a Nobel Prize, or, well, I won this prize. No, he didn't win any of that. But he did lose the sexual abuse lawsuit. Oh, yeah. I'm flocking to you. But this shows you just how crazy America is. All right, so the Wall Street Journal, which wants to cut its ties to Donald Trump, their editorial board put out this editorial, and it shows you just how conflicted all the Republicans are. If you're a Democrat, or if you're a reasonable person, there is no conflict at all. They get the guy out of here. He has no business running in. He ran once. He can now be a figurehead and figure out what kind of comic books to put in his library. I mean, that's what he needs to do. But the Republicans want to win in 2024, so they're kind of namby-pamby, and this is the namby-pamby editorial that the Wall Street Journal wrote. Does it matter politically now that a jury has found Donald Trump liable for battery and defamation against a woman who said he assaulted her sometime in the 1990s? In a better world, it would matter. But in the debased and polarized American politics of 2023, it may not. Well, at least they're honest there. We are in a debased and polarized world. It should matter. I say that forget the polarization. Let's pretend we live in a world where such things matter. I mean, this is the thing. We know that these things matter, but we refuse to embrace it. Because embracing it means, if you're a Republican, it means that you're denouncing Trump, and you could lose the 2024 Republican nomination, and they think he's going to win, but he's not. But self-interest comes into play, and they say, well, wait a minute, we can't think of being in a better world, we have to love and embrace this debased, polarized American politics of 2023. No, you don't. See, that's the point. People just say, yeah, I want to be better. I know it's better, but I can't. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. That's a simple answer there. Unbelievable that even in publications like the Wall Street Journal, Rupert Murdoch's journal, Rupert Murdoch, who is at odds, he's one of the Republican elites who wants Trump gone. They can't figure out how to complete the job. And you see the dilemma. Oh, in a better world, we would just say, no, this sexual abuse lawsuit does matter. We don't want a person like Trump in. But they can't. They can't do it. That's the problem of our democracy. The people who should know better aren't acting better. And they need to act better. I mean, it's an easy choice for Democrats, right? They don't want Trump anyway. They have other choices to make. Republicans, much harder choice because it means, oh, if we dump Trump, does that mean Nikki Haley? Does that mean Asa Hutchinson? Who's not a bad guy. Asa Hutchinson, he's got some issues, I think. But he's a moderate. I think he can bring some moderates together from the left. That's not much of a left if you're a moderate, but they're trying to find a 51% from both sides. We still have a few months. Maybe someone will step forward. Back to the editorial. It's impossible to know what really happened in the dressing room. Oh, really? We had E.Jean Carroll get up there and tell what she recalls. And even though this editorial tries to poke fun at her memory, she got up there under oath and testified. Donald Trump did not. Donald Trump did not offer defense. Donald Trump did not show up. And where Donald Trump blew his cover is when there was that photograph of John Johnson, who's married to E.Jean Carroll, and E.Jean Carroll, black and white photograph. Trump was asked to identify the woman in the picture, and Trump said, oh, that's my wife, Marla Maples. Or his wife in the future. The key thing there is Trump had made all these statements about how E.Jean Carroll was not his type, right? So this woman, this in the picture, Marla Maples, wrong. The woman was E.Jean Carroll. Shows you how faulty Trump's memory is. The man who says, E.Jean Carroll, I don't know her. It never happened. E.Jean Carroll. Trump has no credibility. This is why Trump did not testify. This is why Trump's attorneys offered no defense. Ultimately, this is why Trump lost. And ultimately, why he does not deserve a second chance at the presidency. So, yeah, I'm looking at this. I'm looking at this editorial. And it says, it says, yet if most Republicans dismiss the verdict as one more political assault, Mr. Trump's opponents and the press have themselves to blame. They also show no restraint. This lawsuit, they're going after the left for going after Trump. Last two paragraphs of the editorial. Character matters. In a president, however, and Republicans will want their presidential nominee to win in 2024 and then to govern successfully. The Carroll lawsuit, compounded by the liability judgment, is the kind of tempest that is Mr. Trump's constant companion. And this is their bottom line, which implies what they're thinking, that they need to dump Trump and dump him quickly and dump him now. They don't say it right away because they don't want to alienate those members of the Republican Party. And there were Republican congressmen today who said, Donald Trump, I'll vote for him twice. I'm not off Trump. There may be more judicial challenges to come for Mr. Trump. GOP voters will have to decide if sticking it to Mr. Trump's enemies is worth putting the country through that kind of Oval Office tumult for 4 more years. Meaning, people want to defend Donald Trump, those who love him, those MAGA types, and they feel like by defending Trump, they're giving it to all those liberals and lefties who attack Trump. So, but the Wall Street Journal says, if sticking it to Mr. Trump's enemies is worth putting the country through the kind of Oval Office tumult, that's what GOP voters are going to have to decide. I think it implies that the Wall Street Journal says, no, it's not worth it, but the Republicans are bankrupt. There are no better candidates, not ones that can win. And in the end, that's all that matters to these guys. And that's the sad thing about our democracy, that it's winning at all cost. It's winning even if it puts you in this weird moral dilemma that in that first graph of the editorial states. Does it matter politically now that a jury has found Donald Trump liable for battery and defamation against a woman who said he assaulted her sometime in the 1990s? In a better world, it would matter. This is the better world, Wall Street Journal. It matters. Dump Trump. And if you're an Asian American, you dump Trump too. The Vietnamese, the Filipinos, there are conservative Chinese who are backing Trump. About 45% of the community backing Trump. Use the Wall Street Journal's words. In a better world, it would matter that Trump has been called or has been named, has been judged by a jury to be liable for sexual abuse. Well, guess what? We are in that better world. We can make it a better world very easily. Dumping Trump. All right, so that takes care of the Trump portion of this. You know, in the Bay Area, they had some meetings about reparations. And while we're on the subject of the Wall Street Journal, yesterday, their lead editorial was how it was titled, California May Bill You for Slavery. Because the talk is about reparations, and a committee voted for reparations to African Americans. Now, I don't always agree with the Journal. I think, though, it's important to talk about how they're thinking. Just because, you know, you got to see just how crazy or how off base they are, or maybe how on point they are. You know, I'm open. I mean, I read the right-wing media, not necessarily so you don't have to, but just to get all points of view and then to come up with my own. And here's the start of this. This is in Tuesday's lead editorial in the Wall Street Journal. No progressive idea is too wild to be adopted these days, especially in California. Okay, that's a That's an opinion, but this isn't lead editorial. The latest example is in the Golden State's new plan to redistribute hundreds of billions of dollars as racial reparations. Basically, I'm for them, but let's see what the Journal says. A 9-member committee created by Governor Gavin Newsom and his Democratic legislature voted Saturday to recommend that the state make cash payments to Black Americans who claim to be descendants of slaves. Although California's 1849 Constitution banned slavery, the committee claims the state government was complicit in the enslavement of blacks in southern states. Now, this is sort of interesting here because California, as the editorial pointed out, banned slavery. And yet, why is California taking part in this? I mean, you could say, yeah, California has no role in this. Slavery was not legal in California. But I think the committee has a good claim that the state government was complicit. That's the important part. The committee says blacks are still suffering the lingering effects of slavery, as well as from such policies as over-policing. The panel recommends payments of $2,352 for each year slavery descendants have lived in California during its war on drugs from 1971 to 2020. So now we're getting beyond slavery into other things. The war apparently ended when localities stopped enforcing drug crimes during the pandemic. Slavery descendants would also get $3,366 for each year they lived in the state between 1933 and 1977, when housing discrimination allegedly occurred, as well as $13,619 for each year they were a California resident to compensate for health disparities between blacks and whites. All told, as many as 2 million black Californians could be eligible, and the total cost could be as much as $1.2 million a person and $800 billion overall. Okay, these are kind of pie in the sky numbers. They're intended to scare you. Reparations may not reach that high, but a panel have laid out some ground rules and it could get that high. We don't know, but now the Journal is trying to scare you into being against this. Although the idea itself, reparations for slavery, you bet I'm for it. That's always going to be the question, though. How are we going to figure out what's fair after all these years? And how do you not include amounts that pile up through the years? And housing, discrimination in housing, is that related to slavery? Well, if prejudice and discrimination comes out of the initial prejudice and discrimination of slavery because of an opinion of African American people that causes discrimination, I would say yes. But how do you judge what is fair? And fairness is really the key thing here. And the Journal points this out. As always with racial spoils, the committee makes some arbitrary distinctions. Black immigrants need not apply. And in some ways, I kind of agree with that. If you're a black immigrant, well, you were lucky. You didn't get brought into the whole slavery trade. No Japanese, now here's where the Asian Americans come in. No Japanese Americans whose ancestors were put in camps during World War II. They're not a part of this. Nor Chinese Americans who worked on the Intercontinental Railroad, but were also banned by the Chinese Exclusion Act. And if you're going to go back to the 1890s and the Chinese Exclusion Act, you better include all the other Asian ethnic groups that were excluded at some time or another. Indian Americans, Filipino Americans who I know were excluded and then brought in as nationals to be a labor force. What do you do about them? Also, don't forget Native Americans who were pushed off their land by settlers. So you get the drift that it's complicated to put this together. And there's a panel that Governor Newsom has put together that says, hey, $800 billion in reparations. That's how much it could go out. This goes to the state legislature, and then they'll chew on it. I think this may be still at parlor game stage, but we know what some of the pitfalls are, and we know what has to happen if we want to make reparations fair. And it's not handing $1 million per person or $1 million per family. This is where everyone has to come together and say, okay, slavery was wrong, ongoing discrimination and prejudice is wrong. The root cause was slavery. How do we compensate for that? It's going to take a while. But there was doubt before the Wall Street Journal put their article out there. But I have a line in my show, my one-man show, where I talk about reparations for what Asian Americans went through. What we went through wasn't exactly slavery, but Chinese, Filipino Americans were lynched, killed, shot and killed, were prevented from fulfilling their dreams, or had to come through the back door if all you could do was laundry, because that's what they allowed Asian men to do. But you became a wealthy laundryman, and some did. Well, what kind of reparations do you deserve? Versus the guy who came in 1849, worked the railroad, and then didn't get the same kind of chance as some others. I mean, what the Wall Street Journal is arguing in this editorial is they're really arguing for, well, if you want diversity or if you want reparations, you better make it more diverse. So let's see what happens. It's going to be one of those things where this goes before the state legislature, but it doesn't mean that it's a done deal. Not yet. The debate, if you were wondering where the reparations debate was, because there's been starts and stops of the last 4, 5, 6 years. It's begun. And we'll see if anyone has a real appetite for it. Fairness will be an issue. All right, so we talked about pets and Trump and reparations. If you missed any or all of this, check it out on amok.com. I'll post it after the show. Trump is going to be tonight on CNN. I'll have to catch the tape. I don't have to see it live. One thing I do want to see live is the start of the Golden State Warrior Los Angeles Lakers game. Game 5. And I'd hoped that the series would be tied up at 2 games apiece, but the Lakers have a 3-1 lead and possibly can win the series. San Francisco, the Golden State Warriors have a terrible time playing on the road. So in some ways, the loss in Los Angeles the other day, kind of predictable. They do better at home, so they're at home today in San Francisco. So maybe the Warriors make it 3-2. They go back to LA. That's the road game they have to have. And they, with the momentum of the home victory, win on the road, tying up the series 3-3. They come to San Francisco on Sunday, Game 7, and in classic style, Game 7 style, they win and advance to the Western Conference Final. That's how I see it. Is it going to happen that way? I don't know. I thought I had it right for the Kings. I thought I had it right here. I had the Warriors winning in 6 because I wanted them to win Game 4. They didn't. So there's a number of things floating out there. I've already begun talking about Jordan Poole yesterday. Jordan Poole is he's only 23. Young player, good player. On Fox today, I watch Fox Sports. I don't watch Fox News. But Colin Cowherd had an interesting stat that said when Jordan Poole starts, or, when he's without Curry, he scores like averages 26 points a game. When Jordan Poole comes off the bench, he only averages like 16 points a game. Jordan Poole scored 0 points in Game 4, which is why the Warriors, lost by 3, are now down 3-1. They got to win Game 5 tonight in San Francisco. I think they can, but they're going to need Jordan Poole to put in 15 points, just like that Lonnie Walker IV did for the Lakers. I think the Warriors win tonight. Jordan Poole gets some smelling salts. Already, people are talking about trading Poole. I think that may not be a bad idea. They need a tall guy, though. The Warriors need someone taller than me. So, all right. Rooting for the Warriors. Now, you know that there's going to be a number of Asian Americans. Asian Americans love the Warriors. I mean, you could say that maybe this is the most Asian American basketball series because you're dealing Northern California, Southern California, the most Asian state. The Asians down in LA love the Lakers. The Asians here in Northern California love the Warriors. And you also know that these are international brands. The Lakers, the Warriors. When I was going to Warrior games, 2010, 12. Oh, no, excuse me. I got mixed up. That was the Giants games. 2015, 16, 17. People from Asia would fly in to then Oakland to go to the Coliseum to watch the Warriors play. So it's kind of Asia's team. It is Asia's team. I gotta like the Warriors tonight, and then they come back and win Game 6, and then they win Game 7 at home. That's what I say. All right, it's Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander Heritage Month. As I've explained to people, it's evolved from a month or from a week to a month. The name has evolved from Asian American Heritage to Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month to, well, actually, you got to stick in Asian Pacific American. That was seen as kind of, we get that APA thing going. And now Joe Biden last year said, no, it's Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And I'm going to get into that, why that's important, why the Native Hawaiians are important, in a subsequent show. But I like Pew. Every year they do something during Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander Heritage Month. They ask some questions. And yesterday I did one of the 5 questions they had. It's important, The finding was, while half of Asian adults in the U.S. identify most often by their ethnicity. I'm Filipino, I'm Chinese, I'm Lao, I'm Japanese, I'm Indian. More than half, we like to identify by ethnicity. Many other labels are also used to express Asian identity, not equal. So they found that 52% of us use ethnicity alone or in combination. 51% use American alone. I'm American. Or in combination with ethnicity or Asian, meaning I'm Filipino American, I'm Asian American. 51% use that kind of phrasing. Only 28% use Asian alone or in combination with American, meaning only 28% say I'm Asian or I'm Asian American, which is telling because it says that there's this generation, right? The earliest Asians, I bet, are the ones who say Asian American because that was the name that we had. Now we're just kind of confused. Now we're just all across the board. We'll call ourselves by ethnicity, I'm Filipino. We'll call ourselves by ethnicity and American, I'm Filipino American. We'll call ourselves Asian American too. We'll call ourselves Asian. We'll call ourselves Filipino American. Or just American. We'll call ourselves by our region. Hey, I'm Cebuano. Cebu, part of the Philippines. I'm Ilocos. I'm a Norteño from Ilocos Norte. Confusing, huh? But this is the thing about identity. It changes. It's different. Person to person. Here's another finding. Despite diverse origins, many Asian Americans report shared experiences in the U.S. and feel connected to other Asians in the U.S. Hey, you like beef? I like beef. Not the food. Ellie Wong. Yeah, it's true. Hey, you see that Marvel movie? I forget it off the top of my head. No, you see Mulan? So no matter where you are, you're willing to get under the umbrella because our Asian American experiences are shared experiences. Here's what Pew found. Most people would describe them as Asian if they passed them on the street, 60%. They've hidden a part of their heritage from non-Asians, 20%. That's kind of high. So this is what do people accept to be called? Most people would describe them as Asian if they passed them on the street, 60%. And it says here, and they feel connected to other Asians in the U.S. Having a national leader advancing the U.S. Asian community's concerns is extremely or very important. 68%. Now, it's different among Asians because is that you want a congressional leader, you want a mayor, you want a supervisor, you want a president, an Asian president? Having a national leader advancing the U.S. Asian community's concerns is extremely or very important. Do you want it just an organization? Wow. Almost 2/3 of us, of Asian Americans, want that. It used to be popular to try to come up with a name. Who is our Jesse Jackson? As if civil rights leader. Who's fighting it for us on civil rights issues? National leader. Think about that. Think who that would be. congressman? I don't know. Maybe we don't have one. And then the final question in this section, they feel connected to other Asians in the U.S. in terms of what happens to Asians in the U.S. affects their own life, at least some. 59%. That's a lot. 59%. I saw beef. I saw Ali Wong's beef. Yeah, that's Asian. That's me, right? I mean, there's an affinity when things happen to Asians. And one of the things about this media world, if it happens in the media world, darn it, clamp down. We relate. We see ourselves. So that's kind of important. Let's go. This is the third group. Pew also found that 1 in 4 Asian Americans are extremely or very informed about the history of Asians in the U.S. 1 in 4. 24% of Asians say they are extremely very informed when it comes to the history of Asians in the U.S. 24% would seem to be high, but that means that 76% are totally ignorant. Maybe not totally ignorant, but there's some ignorance there. If 24% say they are extremely very informed when it comes to the history of Asian Americans, what about the other 76%? This is why it was important for Harvard to get Asian American studies this year. After dragging its feet, it got the money first. But it's important to have Asian American history. Because only 24% of Asians say they are extremely or very informed. How much so the white community, the black community, the Latino community? How informed are they about the history of Asians? I dare say it's going to be lower than 24%, which is not a good thing. Among Asian adults who are extremely very informed about the history of Asians in the U.S., the percentage who say they learned about it from, guess where they learned it from? Elementary to high school? No. That was the lowest on the list, only 39%. How about college or university? No. Fourth lowest at 49%. So how do we know about our history of Asian Americans in the U.S.? 70% said friends and family. It doesn't say friends and family who are professors. Maybe they're students in Asian American studies, but 70%. Now we're getting up there in terms of reach. Among Asian adults who are extremely very informed about the history of Asians in the U.S., the percentage who say they learned about it from the media, 76%. It's a lot. You want to know why television, seeing Asian American stars is important, or seeing Asian American stories on television, on 60 Minutes, on local TV, on the news? That's where we learn. Media. But beating media by a long shot, the people who say they are extremely very informed about the history of Asians in the U.S., who say they learned about it from, number one, at 82%, the internet. It's an internet world. Don't pick up that chat GPT thing on history. That's interesting. We get our stuff from the internet. We Google. We find out people who are talking it free on a Monday, or excuse me, on a Wednesday, like this Emil Guillermo guy. I think that's it for today. We'll get a couple more tomorrow. So it's Wednesday. We're here Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific, live because I want that live experience, right? Just like Walter White said, I did it because it makes me feel alive. What? Selling meth? No, washing my car. Not selling meth. What? Crazy? Washing my car. Hey, big night tonight for the Warriors. I like the Dubs. I like their chances at home. I hope they play well. And then I hope they start thinking about what kind of big guy could they corral to join the war if they want another dynasty or if they want another win. They may lose the dynasty tonight. In fact, I'm prepared to see it broken up. But yeah, I don't know. The Warriors they're frustrating. They got to be just right. They got to be just right. So we're here Monday through Friday. Hopefully tomorrow we'll talk about a Warrior victory. Then they play again on Friday. And tomorrow we'll talk about Trump and that CNN appearance. I think, is that the point that I'm sure it's coincidental, but I think this is a big deal for women, this verdict against Trump, making him liable for sexual abuse. I just think we've turned a corner. I kind of agree with E.Jean Carroll. Kind of agree. All right. You can watch us on Twitter at Emil Amok. Just use your finger and rewind. Go to youtube.com/Emil Amok1. Once again, you can rewind to the back or the front. Facebook.com/EmilGuillermo.media. And also, I'll post the replay on amok.com. You know, I like to meditate. I'm going to meditate on the Warriors. Got to win tonight. This is a must win. A must win. And so, as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. Back tomorrow. Till then, Mahal Kita.